How's everyone doing today? Welcome back to On The Ball and welcome back to another manager sack race tier list. We haven't done this for quite some time and there has been a few managers that have been introduced to the league. A couple have gone since we last did it. I think Roy Hodgson was still in the job. Paul Heckingbottom was still in the job. So we've got some new managers to contend with. So let's get straight into it. The tiers that we're going to go through are going from lifetime contract to safe, give him time, jury's out, in big trouble, and sack ASAP. And we're going to start off with Ange Postecoglou of Tottenham Hotspur. First season, it's been quite a positive season with everything that he's had to contend with. So I think his job is pretty much safe.
Yeah, I think most Spurs fans are happy with where we're at and the progression we're making. I think we played good football. Obviously, there have definitely been bumps in the road. I think it's fair to say there have been defeats, especially recently, which have been a bit concerning. I think, the Fulham defeat, the Newcastle defeat, that's been a bit concerning. But I think the overall direction of the club is, I think everyone feels good. The players seem happy. And hopefully we can have a positive end to the season, but he's definitely safe. And I think at the beginning of the season, everyone was said top six, and he's going to get that. So safe.
Exactly. So Ange Postecoglou goes into safe. Next up, we're going to talk about Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace manager. Hasn't had that long in the job. I think that he had a bit of a bumpy time at the start, didn't he? Things seem to be going much better now. One away at Liverpool and an unbelievable result, 1-0 at Anfield. And his most recent result, 5-2 at home to West Ham, was an unbelievable performance from the Crystal Palace players. So I think that, he's slowly getting to grips with things. I wouldn't say like he's had an unbelievable start because there has been quite a few losses in there. So, his job is safe because he's just joined there, but I would say give him time.
It's no surprise their performances have improved since Olise and Eze have been back in the side, and that we've definitely seen that lately. They're definitely playing with a new intensity though, aren't they? Like under Hodgson, it just seemed very laboured, boring. Everyone seemed bored at Palace and everyone seemed to want that tenure to end as quickly as possible. So I think there is a freshness to what Glasner's brought, the new formation as well. And some of the football they played in the last game against West Ham was unbelievable. Some of the best football they've probably seen in a long time at Palace. So obviously he's definitely safe, and I think he's got a bright future ahead of him at Palace.
Yeah, so we're putting him in safe, yeah?
Yeah.
All right. Oliver Glasner goes into safe. Next up is Roberto Zerbi of Brighton. I thought, what's he been there? This is his second season now?
Yes, actually, he joined halfway through last season, didn't he? Because Potter started last season at Brighton.
Yeah.
So it feels like he's been there for a while, but he's only been there probably a bit over 18 months.
Yeah. And where are they in the league? 7th?
10th.
Oh, they're 10th.
10th.
Even at 10th, though, you're looking at their home form this season, which has been spectacular. Only 2 losses throughout the whole of the season so far at home, which is great if you're Brighton. Away form is a cause for concern. Why they haven't maybe kicked on from last season, maybe they did get hindered by their European exploits. I would still say, there's no sort of worries about De Zerbi at Brighton. I think, they're obviously more than happy with him.
Only 3 wins in the new year, though, so that's got to be a bit of a concern. Obviously, I feel like they have struggled to juggle Europe and the league, and that was always natural when you overperformed. They're Brighton, though. They probably didn't expect to be in Europe this year, and they obviously he did so well to do that. I think the biggest fear is him leaving, as opposed to him being sacked. I think if they can keep him, they will, but there will be a lot of interest, will there? And I think he's an ambitious guy, and if there's a club, in Europe who are willing to spend money and back him, he probably will leave. I would assume. But I think he kind of, as long as he wants a job, I think it's his. So I do think he's kind of got a job for life.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. It's a lifetime contract for Roberto Zerbi, which is interesting. Last time we put him in safe and we've bumped it up this one for lifetime contract, and the form probably hasn't got better since the last time we've done it. But I think
he's kept Brighton competitive, hasn't he?
Say again?
He's kept them competitive.
No, absolutely. To get them into Europe was an unbelievable feat for Brighton, and to juggle Europe and Premier League this season and to keep them in the top half, I still think is impressive. So
they're 6 points off 6, so it's not out of the question. They could still nab a European spot.
Yeah, exactly. So De Zerbi's got a lifetime contract. Pep Guardiola, I think, is next, and I think he's obviously got a lifetime contract as well.
Yeah,
could win his 4th title in the space of 4 years this year if he does go on and win it. Champions League winners last year. Be a bit disappointing for them that they did go out in the Champions League in the quarterfinal stage, albeit they did go out to Real Madrid and they were a much better side, I thought, over the 2 legs. But it's obviously lifetime contract.
If he wins 4 in a row, it's never been done before. Will that be the achievement that makes him surpass Fergie or not yet? Or does he have to beat him for overall Premier Leagues? I think it's 13 Fergie won, and Pep's on what, 7?
Yeah,
6?
but you're not going to have a manager anymore that comes in for the space of time that Fergie was in the job for. That's the only
Yeah, Fergie was 30 years.
Yeah,
Pep's nearing on 10. He came in 2016, so this is 2024. So he has to be here for another 2 years to make it 10.
Yeah, he won't get past. I don't think he goes past 10, 11.
There's rumours that next year might be his last.
He's going into his final year of his contract next season.
Yeah.
And we all know this is the longest job Pep has had, isn't it? By quite a stretch. And he's changed the Premier League. He really has. What he's done with Man City, yes, he's had all the money behind him and everything like that, but we've seen managers come in at different clubs, even at Man City with all the money behind them, but that do nowhere close to the job that Pep Guardiola has done. So for me, he's the best manager in the world by far.
Yeah, he's an incredible. The consistency as well over all these different competitions. Everyone says, he's had all the money and stuff, but you still, how many managers have had money and not be able to do what Pep does? A lot of managers. It's not easy to do. So you have to, I think he deserves a lot more credit.
And it's also the way he keeps changing it up every single year, For his eyes, you'll see a player that's playing unbelievable, like João Cancelo, right? Mm-hmm. One of the best right backs in the league the year before, and the next year he was like, nah, get him out. He's not doing the right job.
But you look at their defence. You've got people like Akanji, Ake. It's not like these are superstar signings. These are signings that a lot of the top clubs could have made easily, and or even some mid-table clubs could have made those signings. And he's turned them into unbelievable defenders. So he deserves credit for developing players.
Yeah, it's a lifetime contract for Pep Guardiola. Next up is Vincent Kompany. Could be going down this season with Burnley, which is interesting. I think their form has picked up massively over the last month or so, or maybe even a bit longer. I would say if I was a Burnley fan, I would probably want to keep Kompany in the job, even if they stay up or go down. If they go down, I think, keeping Kompany in the job, they've got more chance of coming back up. And if they stay up, I think it's an unbelievable job that he has done. So I think Kompany needs to stay in that job. And I would say probably safe. Yeah, not safe, because if you're relegated, you're never safe if you get relegated. So I'll probably say give him time.
I would say he probably is safe, because if they were going to sack him, they would have sacked him by now, given how many points behind they were. They have, I guess, had a big stroke of luck considering the points deductions, which actually means they've got a fighting chance of staying up now. They're only 3 points behind Forest. So, 4 games to go. If they can put some sort of run together, maybe 3 wins out of 4, maybe it really gives them a chance of actually staying in the league, which would be an amazing achievement. Although it's only an achievement because of points deduction, so I don't know how to really measure how much of a success it would be in terms of.
But they've got a championship squad.
They do. I don't think they're going to sack him. I think again with Kompany, the biggest thing is whether he'll leave or not. I don't think even if they go down, I think they're going to keep him on, because I think they'll know he's their best bet of going back up. So I do think he's safe.
Okay, Kompany goes into safe. Next up is Iraola of Bournemouth. I think he's done a really good job since stepping in. I think when did he come in?
Came in the summer.
Oh, in the summer he came. So I mean, the first part of the season, it didn't look like he was going to get to grips with the role, and it took him quite a while to, get his right team and play the right football and ingrain his style of play within the team. But once he did that, they've really flourished for it. So I think he's completely safe.
Well, we did the video in November 16th. So that's a decent portion of the last video, a decent portion of the season gone. And he was in big trouble. I remember he was 1 game away of getting sacked, really. I think they had a home game against Burnley. And if he'd have lost that, I think he might have gone. So to turn it around in the way he has, gone on to 2 really good spells of form, playing some really good intense football as well, playing high pressing, attacking football. Really, really impressive. I think the likes of Zabani, Solanke, Justin Kluivert in recent weeks as well have really been brought on very impressively as well. You get the feeling if he can upgrade in a few situations, maybe they can really go for a push for Europe next season as well. So I think he's done a really great job. And I think he's safe.
Yeah, so Iraola goes into safe. Next up is Thomas Frank of Brentford. Last time we put him in lifetime contract. It probably hasn't gone the way that he would have wanted it to go this season. I think they're way too close to maybe relegation than they would have liked. And I think the players that they do have, the way that they've been playing, they don't deserve, I don't think, to be down that way. So I don't think he's lifetime contract, but I do think he's safe.
I do think he's lifetime contract, because I think the longer Brentford stay in the league is an incredible achievement, considering I think they got one of the lowest wage bills in the division. He's doing everything on a shoestring budget, which is really, really impressive. And yes, they were precariously close at points to the relegation zone. They're now 10 points clear, so they've got with 4 games to go. So they got no fear of going down at this point. I do think as well he's been hampered by the Tony situation. He's been hampered by Mbeumo having long-term injury as well. And when you're having such a tight budget like they are, you're heavily relying on the talent that you have at your disposal. And unfortunately for a lot of the season, he hasn't had that. I do think next season, if they sell Tony, reinvest that money smartly, which they do have a track record of doing, I do see them going back towards mid-table rather than relegation. And if they can keep him up again or progress on that, that'll be a brilliant achievement. Obviously, it was a bit of a decline considering I think first season in the league. I think they were pushing top half, weren't they? So a bit disappointing this season. They've been points close to relegation, but recently, as you say, 5 games unbeaten, 3 draws and 2 wins, really turning it around. And they consistently play the same way. Even when they lose, they're tough to beat. So I think I think the Brentford fans still love him. I don't think any support has been wavered from him. There's never even been any talk of him being sacked at all.
No.
So I think lifetime contract.
I think that when you look at Thomas Frank, he's done an incredible job. I'm not saying he hasn't, but I do feel like next season, if he has a similar season to this year and they're kind of flirting around the same position when they're a bit too close to relegation for their liking, I feel like the board could just say, maybe he's just done all he can here, and is it ever going to progress? That's the thing.
Maybe. I think they're gonna. I think they see every season in the Prem as an achievement.
Well, they got to progress at some point.
Yeah, at some point, but I know this season it hasn't because of different circumstances. I do see them progressing next season. I think.
Yeah, but I'm saying if they don't progress next season, then that's a real conversation to be had.
Yeah, but I think right now, then there's not anywhere near a chat about him getting sacked. Like, I think they would give him a new contract right now, in my opinion.
Yeah, right now, but it's not a lifetime contract, because if they don't kick on next season and they're flirting around the same position, there's a conversation to be had about if he's the right man to take them forward and progress them. Right now, it looks like he is the right man to take them forward and progress them because of the job that he has done. But you look at the guys that we've put in lifetime contract. Zerbi, he's dropped from 6th or 7th to 10th, and they're still saying lifetime contract. And even if Zerbi next year finishes 10th, 11th, I still think he's done an unbelievable job there, and you want to keep him on. Pep Guardiola, if he doesn't win the title this year, if he finishes 2nd or 3rd next year, you're not doubting his managerial ability to take Man City forward, but maybe you are with Thomas Frank if he's flirting around relegation.
I don't think they are. I think they stick with him for sure next season. I think they could even go down. They wouldn't sack him. I don't think.
Even if they went down?
Yeah.
Nah, come on, man. If they went down,
I don't think
2 years in the Premier League, you don't think they'll sack him?
3 years. This is their 3rd year in the Premier League.
Even more so, then.
So it'll be 4 years next year.
Yeah,
I don't think they'll sack him. I think they'll give him they might sack him right at the end of the year, but I think they'll give him a chance to save him. I don't think they're sacking him anytime soon.
Well, I don't think they're sacking him anytime soon either, but I think lifetime contract just a bit of a stretch. But look, I'll give you the benefit of the doubt. We'll put him there. Come on.
You're not a Frankie?
I like Frank. I do like Frank. I just think lifetime contract's a bit too much. But anyway, let's go to Nuno Espírito Santo. And for me, I don't think he's taken Nottingham Forest forward at all since the sacking of Steve Cooper. So I think, I'm not sure either in big trouble, the jury's out. I mean, if they do go down, obviously he's in massive trouble and they'll probably sack him. If he stays up, it's probably still in massive trouble, because if they have a bad start to next season, they'll probably sack him.
Yeah, funny thing is, obviously he's got championship experience, doesn't he? So is there a better manager than Nuno to get them out of the championship? Probably not. So I actually see them probably keeping him on, even if they do go down. But I do think, jury's out, in my opinion. I don't think he's improved them. I think they've been pretty lackluster under his ownership. They had a few good performances, and it's not all totally his fault, is it? Because the whole points deduction. So if it wasn't for that, there would be how many points? There'll be 5 points clear. There'll be 5, which isn't a million miles away, to be honest, but it's still not 1 point clear. So I feel bad for him on that sense. So it's not totally his fault, but I think he doesn't play great football, and they've got some good forward players, and he maybe should be able to get more out of them. So I think the jury's out at the moment.
Yeah, I mean, I was flirting in between jury's out and in big trouble. I mean, I'm just looking at Nottingham Forest, and they just don't fill me with any sort of... I think they could realistically properly go down there. I mean, 1 point clear, right, of the relegation, which is crazy to think about. You know, they're on 1 point above Luton Town, and look at the two budgets of the two clubs and the amount of money that Nottingham Forest has spent over the past year or two. I think it's madness to be only a point above Luton. It's not all Nuno's problem, because Steve Cooper was there and he kind of like helped get them into that situation, but Nuno just hasn't helped anything, in my opinion. I'd personally put him in big trouble. I think even if they do go down, I don't think they keep him on. I think they do sack him. I don't see why they would keep him on if they go down.
I think they do keep him on because, again, he's a very good Championship manager. He's done very well with Wolves when he was there. So
I do did well with Wolves in the Premier League as well.
Yeah, so I think they'll keep him on. I think they'll want him to take them back into the Premier League. I'm happy to put him in big trouble. I'm happy to put him there.
Right, Nuno goes into big trouble. Next up is Unai Emery. Just signed a new contract, doing an unbelievable job at Aston Villa. I'm going lifetime contract.
Yep, job for life, I think. Considering the short... Well, he's been there now just under 2 years. And he's got... at the moment, Villa in a European semi-final, also on the brink of getting top 4 as well, which would be an incredible achievement. In his career, he's found it difficult to balance both Europe and league form, but this season he seems to maybe found the right formula at the moment. So very, very impressive. Obviously, they play decent football as well. They've scored a lot of goals, and Unai is showing what a top manager he is yet again. Another club, so. Yeah, I think he's a job for life. Villa must be delighted with him.
Next up, Gary O'Neill of Wolves. I think he's doing an unbelievable job. I thought he did a really good job last year with Bournemouth as well. When you're looking at Wolves, they were tipped to go down at the beginning of the season by many pundits, by many different people as well. And to get Wolves where they are with the budget that they have had, I think is a miraculous job. So I would probably say safe.
Yeah, even flirting with job for life. What I love with Gary O'Neill is he seems to take on jobs which, like, the previous managers give up on because they think it's a hapless task. Scott Parker resigned or was sacked because he said we didn't spend money, we're going to go down essentially, and he kept them up. Lopetegui left in pre-season because he said we're not spending any money, we're going to go down, and O'Neill took it on and kept them up. Not more than kept them up, flirting with Europe. So. Unbelievable job, Gary O'Neill. Got to give him so much credit. I had my doubts about him, but he's done phenomenally, and could even finish in the top half. Only 1 point behind Brighton at the moment, so could realistically finish top half come the end of the season. Even whispers of a conversation with Liverpool, which I'd be very surprised about.
Looks like they're going for slot.
So, I would say probably, job for life or safe?
I wouldn't say job for life just yet. I think he needs to do a bit more and needs a bit more time to get that job for life. But I think right now it's safe.
Safe.
But I think he's a top manager in the making. I really do. I really like Gary O'Neill. Next up, Mikel Arteta, back-to-back title challenges for Arsenal. I mean, he's doing an unbelievable job. You got to say job for life.
Yep. Still needs to win a few more trophies. I think it's now 5 years, is it, or 4 years since they last won a trophy, and the longer that goes on, the more that narrative carries on.
Isn't it? Because he won the FA Cup with Unai Emery's team, Unai Emery's failing team, and since he's got his team, he's done terribly in the domestic cups.
Yeah. It's very strange. So that's definitely something to watch out for. But as long as he's got them challenging for the title and as well, competing in the Champions League. And obviously they did go out to Bayern, which was quite disappointing, I would say, the way they went out. Although Bayern are very seasoned pros in that competition, I think that would have been a bit disappointing. They kind of limped out in that competition. But, if they have a realistic chance of winning the league here. So... and that's the second season in a row. So, job for life at the moment.
If he doesn't win the league this season, do you think that he's got, he could be branded as one of these nearly men and one of these guys that just doesn't get over the line, like maybe Pochettino was at Spurs?
He definitely will be branded that, but with Klopp leaving at the end of next season, I think he sees an opportunity of being like, look, it's going to be a 2-horse race next year and we've got a good chance.
All right, Mikel Arteta goes into job for life. A lot of job for lives in the Premier League. And next up is Jurgen Klopp. We know he is leaving at the end of the season. But if he didn't announce himself leaving, then he would have had a job for life. So
for sure.
You probably got to put him in job for life, because from the perspective of the Liverpool board, it is job for life. It's just him that wants to leave.
He had to resign.
Yeah.
That's the reality. That was never going to happen. So, yeah, phenomenal job. He's going to be sorely missed at Liverpool. Be interesting to see what the next era brings for them. Very interesting to see what Slot can do if he's going to be the next one appointed. But yeah, Klopp could still win the league this season. Only 3 points behind the leaders, so not out of the question. But unfortunately, it does feel like things have fallen apart slightly over the last few weeks.
Yeah, it has. But they are still, apart from a couple of games in like Europe and the Man United game, they are still there, aren't they?
Yeah, they're only 3 points behind. So as long as they're there, and, I think from their perspective, take it to the last day and just see what happens.
Is it 3 points behind with the game in hand?
Yeah, with a game in hand.
All right, next up is Eddie Howe of Newcastle. Hasn't had it his own way this year, but I still think he's doing a really good job when you take into consideration the crazy injury problems that they had all season. I still think, the Newcastle fans absolutely love him. I don't think he's in any sort of, scare of losing his job or anything like that. I think his job is completely safe.
I think he's safe as well. Obviously, top 6 this season would be quite good return considering the problems they've had. Yes, they did go out of the Champions League group stages. That would be a massive disappointment.
Very unluckily, though. That goal that penalty was never a penalty in the PSG game,
They still finished bottom, so that'll be disappointing.
Group of death, though.
It was a group of death
in the Champions League.
And PSG and Dortmund both got to the semis, so it's not like it was an easy group. I get that. But it was still a disappointment to finish bottom of the group. That will be held against him. But I do think he's safe because I think there are worries of Newcastle going into mid-table mediocrity this season. And I don't think many would have blamed him if they would have finished like 10th this season as well. And the fact that he's kind of pulled it together at the latter stages, gone on to a good run of form, and looks like they might snatch that 6th spot, get into Europa League, I think that's a good return. So I think they're happy with him and I think he's safe.
Yeah, agreed. So Eddie Howe goes into safe. Next up is David Moyes, which is an interesting one because obviously on the back of, was it last year they won the Conference League, first European trophy for West Ham. He's done a really good job at West Ham when you look at league finishes, getting a trophy behind his belt, but I just feel like he's outstayed his welcome a little bit. He probably should have left after that Conference League win last season on a high. And you're looking at it this season, they have taken some batterings this season in games which they never should have, away at Palace, Fulham, at home to Arsenal. Yes, Arsenal have been unbelievable this season, but you should never be losing at home 6-0 to anyone. So I think the football that he plays and the players that they do have, they just don't go together. They need to be playing a more expansive game. And I think that you're seeing in the press now, West Ham are looking for other managers to come in for next season. Ruben Amorim has been touted out, a few other managers as well. So they are clearly looking to move past David Moyes. So I'm not sure. I'd probably sack ASAP.
Yeah, I'm sacking him now. I know they're only 2 points off 6, so it does seem harsh, albeit they have played 2 games more than 7th and 6th as well. So it's going to be unlikely they do get that toxic spot. I think it's run its course with David Moyes. He's done a great job, but he's taken them as far as he can go. When you start seeing results like they have this season with those heavy defeats, it kind of tells me that a lot of the players have maybe lost belief in the way he wants to go about the game. And when he prides himself on defensive solidity and you're conceding that amount of goals in certain games, that tells me that his way of working has stopped working, and they need a fresh approach. And they've got the players to make that work. They really do. They've got a really good squad, a few more key additions in certain positions, and they could have a squad really going for Europe next season. So they're going for Europe this season, but maybe even pushing top 4. They've got some really good players there in that front line. So I do think a fresh approach is needed. So sack ASAP, I think, with Moyes.
Right. David Moyes goes into sack ASAP. The next one is going to be a very interesting one in Mauricio Pochettino. I don't know, I'm conflicted with this one because I feel like in recent weeks, like he has done a good job and you have started to see Chelsea slightly turn a corner. But then like last night's result and performance just like throws everything back in my face. 5-0 against Arsenal. against a very good Arsenal side, and Chelsea did have problems, no Cole Palmer, centre-back issues, no Malo Gusto, playing a kid at right-back in Alfie, what's his name? Gilchrist. I'm not too sure where to put him, because I think in an ideal world, you still want to give him time, because he is trying to gel a whole new team, young players, but that's not really the way Chelsea have worked in the past, since Roman Abramovich came, but it is a new era now.
Well, if Chelsea were operating similar way to the past, it would be gone by now. That's the truth. So I think that tells us that that's at least changed a bit, and even changed slightly to last season, because last season was a similar situation. They sacked Potter, and they haven't sacked Poch. But the caveat to that is they are 9th. They're only currently 5 points off 13th. If they were to have a really miserable end to the season and drop as low as 13th, will they actually keep him on? I don't know. I'm not convinced they will if they finish that low. If they do have a solid end to the season and maybe, top half, or maybe even get in a Conference League spot, I think obviously that buys him some time and gets him to next season, and then he can build again. There's conflicting reports at the moment whether what they're thinking about Chelsea. Some reports say that they want to keep him on, and some players like him, and some also are saying they wouldn't be surprised if he is moved on and they look for someone else. So it's hard to know what the Chelsea board are thinking. I just think at the moment, I think the very best you can give him is jury's out. I don't think you can go any higher than that.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying, I do, but just because we know what Poch can do firsthand, we know that he can make it work if he's given time. And I still believe that he can make it work if given time. But it's just, is he going to be given that time? But the thing is, who's going to come in? Which manager's going to come in now at Chelsea with these current crop of players and make it work and get a top 4 finish?
It's a good question.
I don't think anyone can.
They need, apparently Poch has been criticising their transfer policy as well, said the team does need a bit more experience, is too young. He's also been very conflicting in a lot of things he said over the whole season, and he has also cut a bit of a figure of a man under pressure a lot of the season. So I do wonder whether that pressure is going to tell. They do have a fairly difficult end to the season. They got Villa away, Spurs at home, then they also have West Ham, Forest, Brighton away, and then end the season at home to Bournemouth. So it's not easy. They were unbeaten in 8 games though before the Arsenal game, so that's something to be positive about. But
that's what I'm saying. It did seem like
but 2 of those games were as well.
Sheffield and Burnley.
2-1 up against Burnley against 10 men and should have lost that game. Yeah. 2-2 against Sheffield where they should have lost that game as well. So there are some caveats to that unbeaten run as well.
Cup final, semi-final as well this season. Yeah. With that team, which has got to work in his favour a little bit. But look, the reality is he's in big trouble. That is the reality.
I think so. I think he's in big trouble. Because if it goes a bit more wrong, I think he could be out.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah. Which is... It's not a shame, because I don't want to see Chelsea do well. But like I said before, we know, because we've seen it firsthand, that if you give this man time, that he can turn it around and do something special for you. But I just don't think he's going to get that time at Chelsea. So agreed. I think big trouble for Pochettino. Next up is... Who's next?
Wilder.
Chris Wilder at Sheffield United. They are all but down, but I think when he took over, they were pretty much all but down, weren't they?
Yeah. Obviously, they know he's a manager again who knows the Championship, who knows how to get out that league. He did very well there. So I do think they're probably going to keep him on. I don't know if they're convinced he's the long-term future of their club. I think he was a bit of a firefighter brought in to try and salve the situation. It hasn't quite worked. I don't know.
Kindly, that's putting it kindly.
I don't know whether they'll part ways with him in the end or not, because I don't know. I'm not convinced whether they'll definitely keep him on. I wouldn't be surprised they did, but I wouldn't be surprised they just said, look, we're going to draw a line under this. We want to go in a completely different direction and move Sheffield United onto a different way of playing. So I wouldn't be totally surprised they moved on from either. So I would say the jury's out on him.
Just trying to see. Yeah, he's got a contract only up until the end of next season.
End of next season.
Yeah. So I probably think because of the way he came in and the circumstances he came in, they know that it was going to be a miraculous job if he was going to stay up. So he's probably got time. He's probably got next season, I think, to save his job.
All right, so give him time then.
Yeah, Chris Wilder goes in to give me time, which is crazy because he's bottom of the league and without any hope of staying up. But next up, we spent 10 minutes, I think, debating this one last time, and this is Sean Dyche.
When we put him last, we ended up with safe last time. I don't think he's safe this time.
Safe last time. But the thing is, right, without the points deduction, they'll be level on points with Crystal Palace.
Which is fine. But it's not incredible. Yeah, they would be safe, but it's not like some incredible achievement to be 14th.
It's not incredible, but what more could Everton expect this season?
I mean, look at their team, and is it that different to like Fulham's team? You know, is it that different to a few of the teams above them? You know, they got some good players there. They got a good defensive line, good players in the defensive line. They got some good midfielders, Sakore, Onana, Calvert-Lewin could be a good striker on his day. Harrison's a good winger. Like, I don't see their team and think them that inferior to the likes of Brentford, Palace, Bournemouth, Fulham.
Yeah, fine, but if you take away the points deduction, they're on the same points as Palace and they're ahead of Brentford. And they're only a couple of points behind.
But that's why I'm saying the jury's out. I don't think he's in big trouble because I don't think he's in danger of being sacked. But I also don't think the Everton fans are convinced by him. I see a lot of debates at the moment between Everton fans whether they should sack him or not. A lot of fans think they've had enough of him. The football's rubbish. They get a lot of bad results. I just think the way he plays football for a club like Everton is never going to be sustainable long term unless you're doing really well. And I think just flirting around the relegation is never going to do it for them. I do think he's safe for now because he's going to keep them up, and I do think he'll probably get into next season. But I think the jury's out from the Everton fans on him.
Flirting around relegation is not a testament to Sean Dyche's managerial skills. Flirting around relegation is a testament to the way that club has been run over the past 3 or 4 years. It's been one of the worst run clubs in the Premier League. And that is why they're flirting around that kind of areas of the Premier League.
I think a different manager could get more out of this team, in my opinion.
I don't know.
I think they can. I think they've got some good players there. I think a better manager can get them playing a bit better, a bit more expansive. They've got some, as I say, I think they've got a decent squad, like better squad than what they've shown. They could easily be challenging for mid-table, I think. Not to say he's done terribly, because it's a difficult situation. In 2 seasons in a row, they nearly went down, and he kept them up last season on the last day. I didn't even think, to be honest, last season it was a miraculous recovery from Dyche. He won a few games, but it was more that the teams below them lost than him saving them, in my opinion. This season, yes, it wasn't for the point deduction. They'll be safer than they are. They would be safe for sure, but it's not like they'll be pushing mid-table or they'll be like it's a massive progression from last season. They were still in and around that area. So I feel like for me,
didn't
I
they
think
save
the jury's
themselves
out
on the last day last year?
Yeah, they did.
So it is. What do you mean? They'll be safe now.
They'll be safe, but I don't.
But it is a progression.
This is a team. This is Everton. This is Everton talking about.
What do you mean? This is Everton. What?
This is Everton.
What does that even mean?
They should be challenging for top half.
Why? They've been in and around the relegation battle for the last 2 years.
Yeah, but that's where they should be aspiring to be. And with that team could be challenging for top half. I don't see why that team can't be challenging for top half. Personally,
because the way that they run that club, signing Ashley Young and these kind of players, I'm
just looking at the team they have. I think they can be challenging for top half.
I'm looking at the team, and you're looking at teams in the top half: Brighton, Chelsea, West Ham, Man Utd, Newcastle. All these teams have a much, much, much better squad than Everton.
Yeah, but what about Bournemouth, Fulham, Wolves, Brentford, Palace? They could be above them.
They could be above them, but without the points deduction, they'll be on the same points as Palace.
Okay, well, but they should be getting closer to the likes of Bournemouth, Fulham, and Wolves. Bournemouth is a perfect example of a change of manager, changing the way you play, and you can improve your situation. I feel like as well that the Everton fans are fed up with Dyche ball. That's the feeling I get from watching a lot of Everton content, and I think the jury's out on him whether they want him to stay next season.
What kind of manager can come into this Everton with the way this club is run and push them up to 11th, 10th, 12th?
I don't know, but I think a different manager to Dyche, maybe if you swapped Dyche, well actually Silva was manager of Everton, but if you put Silva, I'm just looking at on the board, if you swapped Silva and Dyche, I think Silva could get Everton a lot higher up the table.
Maybe. In terms of Sean Dyche, though, where are we putting him?
I'd say jury's out.
Jury's out? Yeah, he has had time, so I wouldn't say give him time. Is he safe? He's not getting sacked anytime soon, is he?
I wouldn't be surprised if they let go of him at the end of the season.
Really?
I wouldn't be totally shocked.
I would be fairly shocked because I think you have seen progression. Well, I say you've seen progression, but the only progression that you've seen is going from 17th to potentially 14th, which is not that much progression. But I guess in the last 2 seasons, they've been in much bigger trouble than maybe they have been this year if you take into consideration the points deduction. I'll agree with you, jury's out for Sean Dyche, albeit I think he's done a fairly good job there. But I just think the second half season form is a massive cause for concern for Sean Dyche. Next up is Marco Silva. I think he's done an absolutely incredible job this season. When you think about what the narrative was around Fulham at the start of the season, and you're looking at now losing Mitrovic, bringing Raul Jimenez in, everyone's like, where are the goals going to come from? I think you haven't seen the levels drop from Fulham. And if anything, they've got better. So I think his job is more than safe.
You think it's job for life?
No. I think it's below job for life, but it's safe.
Yeah, safe. I would say safe as well. Good job. It's going to be difficult for him to progress on it. He needs to recruit smartly in the summer, but he's done really well to make sure they didn't get dragged in any sort of relegation battle. You have to remember, this is only their second season in the Prem. It's easy to forget that. Yeah. So I think he's done really well under difficult circumstances and deserves credit.
Next up is Erik ten Hag. I'm going sack ASAP.
Sack him ASAP. I agree. I think he should go. I think he's more than in big trouble, especially with with Ineos.
Yeah.
Coming in, they want their own man. I think the football they've been playing is terrible. Although the caveat I would say is if he did win the FA Cup, that might convince him just to give him another chance.
The FA Cup.
Look, they're in the final. Anything can happen in the final.
Have you ever seen a more embarrassing FA Cup semi-final win ever before?
No, but anything can happen in a final. They could fluke it. You said yourself they're the luckiest team in the world.
Yeah.
And maybe they'll get lucky in the final. So you never know. And maybe if he gets
hopefully he only goes too far. It will be so unjust if Manchester United win this FA Cup.
If they do, maybe that would give them. I think that's his only chance, winning the FA Cup, to maybe get another shot. If I was in Ineos, I'd be looking at how they've been playing, and it's more about. I think when you're making decisions about. Who should be a manager, all that kind of stuff, and you're in Ineos's position or Ratcliffe's position where you have to decide, do we keep with him or not? It can't just be look at the results. It has to be look at the way you're playing and look at how he's got you set up and how vulnerable you are and how many collapses you've had and how easy you are to play against and score against. And it's not even you look at United, you think, if you make a tweak here, a tweak there, you buy an upgrade here, they'll be all right. It's like there's so many issues, and it all stems from how they're set up under Ten Hag, and I don't think it's ever going to bring them success. So I think they got to sack him.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think where they are they're 7th in the table right now, but I think even that is a bit of a overperformance of how they've actually performed this season. I really do. I've just been, every time I watch Man United, it leaves me angry at the end of games because whenever they get a result, it's just they don't deserve those results that they're getting. To be 3-0 up with 20 minutes to go against Championship Coventry at Wembley in a semi-final, and to take it extra time where a slither offside kind of saves you. It's unbelievable the collapse that they had. Their Champions League performance this season was disgraceful. It really was. The collapses they've had against the teams like Galatasaray. I just think it's mad. It's absolutely mad. The amount of times that even the keeper has saved them in Premier League games. It's just mad the way Ten Hag has kind of just got by this season, even a cup final. If they win this cup final, that is just papering over so many cracks if they keep him in because of that. And I've been hearing reports that even if he wins the FA Cup, he's gone at the end of the season. And I think that's probably the right decision. If he wins the FA Cup, let him go out on somewhat of a high and bring in someone else that can do the job and start this new revolution under Ineos. So I think sack ASAP. Next up, and last but not least, is Rob Edwards of Luton, and I think he's done a fantastic job this season. Fantastic. Even if they go down, the way that they've shown the fighting spirit this season of a team that has a squad nowhere near good enough, in my opinion, to be in the Premier League. But they've shown that fighting spirit, and that is what given them a bit of a chance this season. At Kenilworth Road, they've been a really hard team to beat, and that is credit to Rob Edwards and the way he set up his team. So I'm actually going to put him in job for life.
Yeah, I can't disagree. I know they might go down, and there's a good chance they'll go down, but the fact they've given themselves a fighting chance speaks a lot for how he's managed his club this season and how he's... I think, because clearly they have a championship team, a championship squad. We all know that. We can see the team. Their team is quality-wise nowhere near any of the teams in the Premier. A lot of the teams in the Premier League. Yet he has got them battling, fighting, scrapping for every single ball, playing some good football at times as well, and just being difficult to play against at times. Obviously, they have taken some batterings, but they've been brave. They've been brave when they've been on the pitch, tried to take the game to the opposition, trying to score goals. So I think they love him there, and yeah, I think there's going to be a job for life.
Yeah, unbelievable job from Rob Edwards, and it's also how he's reinvigorated Barkley's career as well. I think that's been one of the stories of the season as well. So that brings an end to the manager tier list. We'll start from the bottom, working our way to the top. So sack ASAP is Moyes and Ten Hag.
We see from that is kind of like a lot of... compared to where we were last time, a lot more managers and maybe near the top. So maybe it's that's a signal of like the Premier League, being a bit more settled. And a lot of managers being a bit more settled now. Than earlier in the season, and all of them doing quite a few of them doing decent jobs.
Yeah, I think so, and I think like when you compare this season to the previous few seasons, I think you've seen a lot less sackings, a lot less. So I think that's also
who's been sacked? Hodgson and Sheffield United, Hickenbottom.
Well, you can see
and Cooper.
And Cooper, yeah. Those are the only three that have been sacked. I think last year was a record as well of how many managers were sacked in a season, and now it's only 3. So I think that's also a testament to maybe how settled these Premier League teams are with their managers. But having said that, it's the worst European campaign English teams have had for a long time.
Actually, yeah, and there's 2 ways you can look at that. Obviously, you could say it's a decline in English teams, or is it because the Prem is so competitive, it drains so much out of them when they get into Europe? It's difficult. But look,
I think it's just a case of Spurs needed 5th spot to be Champions League, so exactly. All the English clubs decided, forget that.
They conspired against us, the bastards. But yeah, I guess we'll do another one at the end of the season, and that'll be the final one.
All right. Well, let us know your thoughts in the comment section below. Do you agree with us? Do you disagree with us? Put your tiers in the comment section below. Like, subscribe, and comment. We'll see you next time.